In our next session in InDesign, we'll be working with some text effects. This one is a pretty quick one here. First of all, I want to show you a handout that will be sitting on Drive L in the assignments folder. I've got this little PDF here, and it should be there for you to look at. If you want to look at it, you can go to Drive L to the assignments folder and double click this file, and it should pop up. Here's what we're working on. We're going to create some text effects, 20 points. You'll have to create 4 text frames with 4 different text effects applied to the text that's there. For the setup, we're going to make a new InDesign document. It can be either portrait or landscape, doesn't matter to me, your choice on that. I'm going to show you this effects panel that you can open up, and there's another way to do it. There's always more than one way to do things in almost any program, but I'll show you a couple of different ways that you can work with the effects. You need 4 text frames. For each one, you select a font. You're going to want to make it big and bold. You're going to be able to see these things bigger, so I would recommend whatever font you use, make it like size 72 and set it to bold. I'll show you how to do that. It's got to be school appropriate, and you'll see mine in a minute. It doesn't have to say very much, but it's just a matter of learning how to do the effects. You can change the color of the text if you want to, and you can do them all on one page. You don't have to have separate pages for this. You can just lay them out all on one page. Now, there are certain effects that I want you to work with, and you know, if you add some extra options to it, I'm not going to be upset by that, but I do want you to do a bevel and emboss, an inner shadow, an outer glow, and a basic feather. All right, now you could do extra ones if you want, or you could add some extra things to these. I'll show you what I mean here in just a minute. Save your finished work on your network drive, and then drag and drop your finished work into your turn-in folder. Here is, these are random words here, but here's an example. And the first one's bevel and emboss. I've got an inner shadow, and let's see what all those were. I think I've got them all on here. Bevel and emboss, an inner shadow, an outer glow, and a basic feather. All right, my outer glow is kind of a dark black outer glow, a basic feather there. So let's go to work. What you would do is, once you're in InDesign, you can click File and New, or you can, of course, if I were to close this one, I can get that dialog box in the middle where I can just click New Document. But I'll just, for right now, I'll just do File, New Document. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's portrait or landscape, really. It's your call. Doesn't matter. So I'm just going to click OK. And I have a page in front of me. All right, so first thing here is to put some text on here. So I'm just going to make a good sized text box, and I want some text on here, so I'll just do PCMS on this. All right, select your text and use whatever font you want. Now, I do happen to think that nice big bold fonts work well for this, but you can try out anything you want. I'm going to center that, and I don't know, maybe I'll just make that text color kind of a red color just for fun. Okay, there we go. I'm just using the swatches that I have. I'm not really going to worry about some custom colors or anything like that. All right, now the first, and I'll flip back to the handout here, the first effect that we want is a bevel emboss. Okay, well, let's check this out. Again, I might remind you I'm working on a Mac, so it looks a little bit different than what it would if when you're working on, let me get that in the middle of that frame, if you're working on your Windows computer at school. All right, now this effect window, if you go to the window menu and you click on effects, you get a window that pops up here, and you see here that the text is normal 100%. All right, so you can click the effects button right here, and you can go to work with it like that. You can start adding the effects that you want. There's a little effects button at the bottom of this panel. You just select text right here, go to effects, and you can start adding effects. Now, another way you can do it, and we've talked about this previously, just right click it and go to effects, and it works the same way. I want to do a bevel and emboss on this. All right, so I'll kick the bevel and emboss into action here. Let me move it over toward the center. And for any of these effects, it has, there's all kinds of options here. This is an inner bevel. Let's try an outer bevel. All right. Make sure you have your preview button checked so you can see how it's looking as you go. There's an outer bevel. There's an emboss right there. There's a pillow emboss. All right. So those are up to you. You pick whatever you want. I kind of like the inner bevel, the one I had first. I kind of like the way that looks. There's chisel hard. There's smooth. You can play with that and set that however you want. I kind of like the smooth. Directions, up or down. All right, play around. Blend modes down there, highlights, blend modes, all kinds of possibilities. So you can play around with whatever you want to play around with here. And when you get it looking the way you want, click OK. All right, so there's a bevel. All right, I move on. I make another text stream here, and I'll just put some text in there. I'm going to center that text. I'm using a font that I have on this machine called Ash. It's a large font, and I just kind of like it. But you can use whatever you want. All right, I'm going to bump that up to like 72 point here. Well, 72 point's not fitting with this font, so I'll take it down to 60. The big thing is make it fit in the box. You can also stretch these boxes out wider if your text is not fitting. Again, I'm going to put that in the center of that box instead of up at the top. All right, color of the text, up to you. You can use your swatches panel. You know, if you want to come over here and use the swatches panel, you can do it that way. All right, what's my next effect here? It says an inner shadow. All right, so let's do an inner shadow here. So I get I can right click, or I can do the same kind of thing I did with this effects window over here. As long as I have it selected, I can click on text, I can go to effects right here, and I want to do an inner shadow. All right, move that out of the way. And again, make sure your preview box down here in the bottom left-hand corner is checked, and see what I'm getting there is an inner shadow that kind of makes it look like it's sinking into the page. Again, I can play with all of these options on here and tweak it around and make it look any way I want it to look. I'll go ahead and click OK because I kind of like the way that's looking. All right, let's move on. All right, some more text. And it doesn't matter that much today what the text says. You know, you can use your name or some sports team or whatever you want. Again, I'm going to keep using this font called Ash that I have on my computer here, but like I said, you use whatever font you want, and you probably won't have that font, that particular font on your computer. All right, we'll do this in a blue color. All right, so I've got that set up, and I'll hop over here to this handout. The next one is an outer glow. I want an outer glow on this. Okay, so back to InDesign, and again, I've got my effects window here, or I could right click and go to effects, and I'm going to do an outer glow. And I'll move this down a little bit so we can see it. I want to make sure it's previewed. The color of the outer glow will be important here. So I'll make that kind of a yellow glow. And the size of the outer glow, I'm not really going to see it unless I bump the size up a little bit. And I could turn the opacity up some. You know, if it's kind of faded, you might not see it as well. And you can play with this blend mode too. If I put that on normal, it might show up a little more vivid. I don't know. All right, so I'm getting kind of a glow around that text. Looking pretty good there. Click OK. All right, I got one more to go. I'm almost done with this assignment, so I just put some more text on here. I'm going to say, I got my caps lock on, Duke, Blue, Devils. All right, and I'm going to center that. I'm going to use my Ash font, and I'll make that bigger, and it's probably not going to fit at 72. It's not even going to fit at 60. And you know, when I recommended 72, the big thing is getting it to fit in the box. I just want it to be nice and big and bold is all that I'm thinking about there. You know, well, the black doesn't look bad. What effect are we doing to this? It's a basic feather. All right, well, what do you say we leave it black? All right, because they use black in their uniform scheme. All right, I'm going to put that in the center of the text box. Good. All right, here we go. Right click and effects, and this one is going to be a basic feather. All right, again, I need to move this box a little bit. Now that's a little much. That's doing too much. So the feather width, I'm going to turn it down some. All right, and you can play around with the corner setting here a little bit, maybe up a little bit. I'm just trying to feather. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Now let's go back to sharp. And you can increase or decrease the noise level here. I'm going to increase. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. It looks almost like a little bit distressed. So what I've done is play with the feather width and play with the noise setting, and I'm getting kind of a cool effect there. Let's see what happens when I choke it a little bit. Yeah, I like it better with it not choked. Okay, so there we go. I got that basic feather on there, and I adjusted noise and feather width, and again, it's a matter of kind of playing with it the way you want. So I'll go ahead and click OK there. And folks, that's it. I got it all done. I did my 4 effects, and I'm just kind of dressing up the text a little bit. So when I get this done, I would go File, I would go Save As, I would get to my network drive, and I would call this, I would just recommend Text Effects for a name. Save it on drive H to begin with, and then once it's all done, you drag it and drop it onto your turned in folder on drive L. That is another one in the books for InDesign. Session number 6. It's your turn.